Hey guys, so again, if you're not good with child abuse, Munchausen syndrome, this video isn't for you, but we're going to keep going. So while I did have like imaginary friends growing up, and even into my teen years, again, because I'm not getting any socialization, I'm not getting any exposure school-wise, I'm not getting any real communication at home unless it's severely negative and everything else. So this just keeps going forever, it feels like. So my grandmother was like, oh yeah, you see people and stuff like that. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm lonely as hell and you won't talk to me a lot of the time. And that was just thrown out the window. So the medical abuse continued until I left for college. So, just so you know, like until I left for college, like I was getting tons of scans, x-rays. They did that wonderful test where they like use almost like a cement and put nodes all over your head. My grandmother was sure that I was dangerous and all of this other stuff. Again, it was just manipulation, absolute manipulation. And if you look at my files and things like that, you can see the level of meds I was on. So here's the deal. If you are a normal person, you don't have a psychotic tendency or a behavior, and they give you antipsychotics and they give you all these drugs, I guarantee you it will screw with the way you function, the way you eat, the way you sleep, the way you see things. I never had like super violent, crazy hallucinations or blood dripping from walls or anything until my grandmother started experimenting on me. Once that happened, I went mental. I'm seeing shit chasing me. I'm seeing blood dripping from walls, So keep in mind, all of this starts when my mother starts seeing and dating people, and then she meets this guy. And all of a sudden I'm developing, and it's, you need to go put a shirt on. I got a shirt on. I've got a big men's sleeveless shirt and a big bra on. But it was, no, that just, I'm not around people I don't understand. So I'm hating my body, I'm hating myself, I'm never enough. I've got to get into a good school. If I don't get into a good school, that means I won't go to college, which means I won't become a missionary or a teacher. And then I won't fulfill my purpose. My life will be empty and meaningless, and I will mean nothing. And it's constantly pounding into my head. So, my mother decides she wants to marry this guy. And I know it's going to be the end of it. Like, I know he's probably going to marry her. And it's going to be over for me. I dislike him intently. And to this day I do. But he was a huge, big, fat bastard. And everyone was always amazed by how much food he could eat. So I figured I'll beat him at his own game. And plus I'm being pulled with all this medicine anyway. You want to know what happened to me while I'm large March now? Seroquel. 1 year I gained 80 pounds. So I'm on all of these other drugs and I'm constantly nomming. So, all of a sudden I'm gaining weight. For the first time in my life, I'm really starting to put on weight. And it goes south. My mother marries this guy, and I'm pretty much told by my grandparents, you're not going to say anything. She made her choice. This is who God obviously wants her to marry. You're going to respect him. We're not going to hear about it. And it was very hard for me to realize, okay, once again, I'm not included in any situation. My opinion doesn't matter. My mother is being, taken away from me. And I'm not allowed to say anything or really even talk to her about it. So it was very frustrating. And all this time I'm being pushed with drugs. And the drugs really start interfering with everything. Once I finally got out of the house and went to college and started having doctors like look at me logically, like without my grandmother sitting there telling them everything. They're like, oh, you have liver damage, you have kidney damage, your bladder's failing, all of it. And all of this is starting to happen. It really wrecked me, because all of a sudden my mother wasn't this strong, independent woman who I was trying to win over and love. No, she was somebody's property now, essentially. And she tried to turn into this Donna Reed housewife type thing, all the while working, because again, he couldn't support a fucking house cat. So all the while she's working, raising my little brother, and she's with this goober. And it was very stressful for her, I know. I know she wanted the husband, I know she wanted the career, and I know she wanted the house with the little picket fence. And my brother went through a time, because again, he had had my mother also himself. He had had the exact opposite that I had. So, it was very, very stressful. So, my mother gets pregnant, and all of a sudden we're looking at 2020. We're not looking at 2020. We're looking at the year 2000. So everybody in my church thinks this is going to be the rapture. It's either the rapture or it's total bullshit. So we started this prepping. Like, I remember we had water, we had batteries, we had all of this. And we have a timeshare with a certain company that is as corrupt as hell and will steal everything from you if you're not careful, named The Villages. And they had a little section of like rental cottages things in Tyler, Texas, where we lived. And I remember Y2K was getting ready to hit, and my grandparents are like, let's go out to the lake, because it was very close by. And I was like, why would we want to be way out there? And they're like, in case. And I'm like, yeah, in case there's a rapture, we want to be in the woods. So I remember going out there and being so nervous, because I remember we stopped for gas at one point, and the gas station had been looted, like it was gone. But I mean, they were really pushing, like, this is it, this is the end, this is the end. Nothing happened, and all the Christians were like, God spared us, God spared us. And it's like, yep, sure did. Whoop-de-woo. You elected the right guy, I guess. But right after, all of that, I'm still trying to adjust to the fact that my mom is pregnant, and oh no, yeah, so I'm going and I'm visiting my mom every now and then, because again, now she needs a babysitter for my little brother so she and her husband can go out. And I remember at one point I was running through the house, and I had a sleeveless shirt on, and because I was so self-conscious of my boobs all the time, I wore a sports bra. I slept in one. I was so terrified that somebody was going to run into me. But I remember I was chasing my little brother through the house, and we're playing, and I caught my stepdad looking at me, and I remember feeling something was off. And I remember my biological mom pulled me aside and said, yeah, by the way, don't ever wear a tank top or a sleeveless shirt around here ever again. And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, you're going to give people the wrong idea. And I remember looking at my stepdad thinking, what did I do wrong? And it took me a while to realize, oh my God, he was looking at my tits. I was 12 years old, and I was already I was 11, and my mother was already like, no, we're not going to have that. If you have to tell your kids to put on more clothes because of the people you bring around them, your children aren't the problem. That should have been her warning sign, and it wasn't. But after that, I was always in a bra, always in a shirt, unless I was doing yard work, because I knew I had done something horribly wrong. I was playing, and I was comfortable. Never did those again.